Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Trouble brews as US President Donald Trump says there is no room for Canada and Mexico to avoid tariffs, doubles China levies to 20%, Canada to impose retaliatory tariffs. Donald Trump keeps the window of hope ajar as he signals Ukraine minerals deal possible, set to reveal details of rare earth deal on Tuesday. A day after Europe announces ironclad support to Ukraine, US President Trump halts all US military aid to Ukraine, says US review to ensure aid contributing to a solution. Extraordinary Arab League summit on a plan to counter US proposal to take over Gaza and move its residents today. Arab foreign ministers chalk out plan in Monday meet. And in sports, India to face Australia in a high-voltage showdown in the first semi-final of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. Well, on to the details now. The U.S. will press ahead with steep tariffs on Canada and Mexico from Tuesday, Donald Trump has said, setting the stage for a trade war with his country's two largest economic partners and some severe retaliatory measures. We get you details in our next report.
The gloves are off. After days of speculation in the U.S. and hope across its northern and southern borders, US President Donald Trump is going ahead with his decision to impose sweeping 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada with effect from Tuesday, March 4th.
Tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
The tariffs from China will also be levied from 4th March. However, in a show of defiance, Trump has doubled the rate from 10% announced initially to 20%. The tariffs are scheduled to take effect on Tuesday. Trump had initially planned to impose the tariffs at the beginning of February but delayed the move after Canada and Mexico agreed to take certain steps on border control. All three nations have threatened countermeasures.
Comunicación permanente.
Whatever their decision is, we will also make our decisions, and there is a plan and there is unity in Mexico. That strengthens us a lot.
Canada announced retaliatory tariffs in a statement from Prime Minister's office. Canada said it will start with 25% tariffs on US imports worth 30 billion Canadian dollars from Tuesday, and thereafter an additional $125 billion worth in 21 days. It added that Canada's tariffs will remain in place until the US trade action is withdrawn, and if it is not withdrawn, provinces and territories will pursue several non-tariff measures. China has already announced tariffs on energy imports from the US. After the latest salvo by Washington, further retaliation is anticipated. Trump administration has imposed sweeping tariffs to boost home manufacturing that may or may not happen in the long term. But the short-term effects are already being felt in the way the decision has sent stock markets into a tailspin. After initial jitters, no one wants to hazard a guess for how long it will take to calm the aftershocks. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, stocks slumped and bond yields slid on Tuesday in Asia as investors braced for an imminent escalation in a global trade war with new US tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China set to go into effect within hours. The US dollar remained depressed with sterling holding close to a 1.5-month high and the euro also firm as European leaders drew up a Ukraine peace plan to present to Washington. Well, tech stocks suffered particular selling pressure, pushing Japan's Nikkei 2.2% and Taiwan's benchmark down 1.3%. Hong Kong's fell 1.8% with a sub-index of tech shares. Asian equities tracked the biggest losses on Wall Street this year from overnight, with the S&P 500 sliding 1.8% and the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropping 2.6%. The Canadian dollar and Mexican peso tumbled, although China's yuan bounced off its lowest level since February 13th in offshore trading. And U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested that a deal allowing U.S. investment in Ukraine's minerals could still happen despite tensions with Kyiv. This comes as European leaders have proposed a truce in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Trump administration sees this deal as a way for the United States to earn back some of the billions of dollars given in aid to Ukraine. However, a recent Oval Office clash between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky has put the potential deal in doubt. Responding to a question on Monday, Trump hinted that the deal is not dead, describing it as a great deal for America. Further, he said that he would give an update on the situation on Tuesday night, also adding that Zelensky should be more appreciative of Washington's support.
From President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border.
Since taking office in January, Trump has upended U.S. policy on Ukraine and Russia, adopting a more conciliatory approach with Moscow, leaving Ukraine and European allies wary. Well, President Donald Trump ordered a pause on U.S. military aid to Ukraine on Monday following a tense Oval Office meeting aiming to push Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky towards peace talks with Russia. Well, the White House has announced a review and temporary pause on aid to ensure it supports a peaceful resolution. This decision marks a dramatic shift in American foreign policy as Trump has challenged the long-standing U.S. commitments to Ukraine since taking office in January. Now the administration is pausing and reassessing aid to ensure it contributes to a broader solution. And for more, we have Shubhendu joining us. Well, Shubhendu, if you talk about what are the implications for President Trump's renewed tariff push against China, Canada and Mexico, with now Canada also announcing retaliatory tariffs?
That's right, Lipakshi. Good morning. President Donald Trump of the United States, his punitive tariff diplomacy has, in fact, begun 25% tariffs on the immediate neighbors, Mexico and Canada. And remember, there's an additional 10% on China. So there was a 10% earlier announced against China in February, and now another 10% makes it 20% against China. We have to see the manner in which these tariffs work. They basically make the imports coming in from these three countries more expensive. So the industries that are importing from these countries will have to, in fact, pay more to be able to import. The impact also is going to be felt by the United States, the people, the consumers, where the prices could go up. Inflation could peak. Remember, cost of living was already a challenge in the US. Meanwhile, for these partner countries, for these trade partners, the direct impact is going to be on their manufacturing. When the demand goes down, when things become expensive to import from these countries, their own manufacturing is going to suffer, leading to job losses. Trade war, in that sense, impacts both the exporter and the importer. Also, the American farmers are likely to feel the pinch because a lot of fertilizer, potash-based fertilizer that comes in from Canada is going to be more expensive now. And now consider when the retaliatory tariffs also come into play. Canada has already announced. Mexico and China are also going to likely to follow suit. In that sense, the similar implications for job losses are going to be felt in United States as well. So in that sense, there is no clear winner in such a trade war. But remember, at the heart of it, there are two key issues that President Trump had raised. One was the illegal supply of drugs like fentanyl in the United States, and second was to curb immigration. So these tariffs were earlier announced in February. They were paused for a while for at least Mexico and Canada, saying that there was a possibility of negotiating a better deal. Border security could be ramped up. But those measures, it appears, did not meet the kind of expectations that President Trump had. And now we see the tariffs coming into play.
All right, Shubhendu. Also, how do you think the recent tensions between Trump and President Zelensky leading to halting of military aid to Ukraine might impact the potential deal regarding the U.S. investment in Ukraine's minerals, which has already escalated the pressure on Kyiv to agree to the peace negotiations with Russia?
It is a big setback for Kyiv, for Ukraine, but more or less on the anticipated lines after the disastrous meeting between Ukrainian President Zelensky and US President Donald Trump in the White House last week. United States has stopped aid for Ukraine, saying that it wants to ensure that it is leading to a proper solution, which is to achieve peace for President Donald Trump, peace which can come early, peace that can come at any cost. And in that sense, the stopping of aid is going to push Ukraine perhaps faster back to the negotiating table. And the deal in focus is, of course, the rare earth minerals deal that you mentioned. That was the agenda when the two leaders had met in the White House, although then it sort of escalated into the larger context of the war. Europe, although it is standing in solidarity with Ukraine, also understands that to be able to formidably resist Russia's advances, it will continue to need US support. United States, since 2022, when the conflict had started, had contributed about upwards of $200 billion to Ukraine in the form of aid, military equipment, and other resources. And putting a stop to those that supply is going to hit Ukraine hard, although Ukrainian side does say that for now, for the immediate action, they do have resources enough for the funds that came in during Biden administration in last winters. But going ahead, Europe, Ukraine would need US on their side. So in that sense, it is possible that despite that bitter fallout, Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky could be across the table very soon.
All right, Shubhendu, thank you so much for all those insights. And on Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump reacted sharply to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's warning that the conflict could last a long time. In a pointed remark, Trump fired back, saying he better not be right about that, expressing disagreement with Zelensky's view on the conflict's duration.
President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today, and he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that.
Well, in an evening address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stressed that true peace can only be achieved with solid security guarantees. He urged for proper diplomacy to swiftly end the three-year conflict with Russia.
We are working through all possible scenarios to protect Ukraine. The primary scenario is to maintain our positions and create conditions for proper diplomacy, ensuring that this war ends as soon as possible with decent peace. We need peace, real fair peace, not an endless war, and we need security guarantees.
Well, Ukraine's parliament said on Monday that the country's security was ensured by support from the United States and described President Donald Trump's peacekeeping efforts as decisive in efforts to end the three-year-old conflict with Russia. A statement issued by Ukraine's parliament said Washington's support was more crucial than ever for the Ukrainian people, urging swift action. The parliament stressed that no one desires peace more than Ukraine itself. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Bus crash in southern Bolivia raises death toll from recent accidents during Carnival there. UN announces new round of negotiations for global plastic treaty amid disagreements over production caps and financing. And SpaceX scrubs a Starship test flight, delaying Starlink simulator launch. Europe's Ariane 6 rocket also postponed.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khuranan. Moving on, Arab League members will meet in Cairo on Tuesday to counter the U.S. president's threats to take over Gaza and move its residents. The summit, convened by Egypt, aims to formulate a unified Arab stance on the Palestinian issue and present an Arab counter-proposal to U.S. plans for the displacement of Gaza's population. U.S. President Donald Trump last month proposed to take over Gaza and resettle its population to develop it into a tourist destination, an idea vehemently rejected by the Arab world and many other nations. Well, early on Monday, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelhadi met a number of his Arab counterparts in Cairo to discuss Gaza reconstruction plan. Egypt has prepared a plan for the reconstruction of Gaza that it will present to Arab heads of states in an emergency summit on Tuesday. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has meanwhile accepted U.S. plan to extend the ceasefire in Gaza by 50 days. In a statement, Netanyahu also said that positions put forward by Hamas for a permanent ceasefire are totally unacceptable. He warned of further steps if Hamas continued holding Israeli hostages. On the other hand, Hamas has said that it is committed to the originally agreed ceasefire that had been scheduled to move into a second phase. Under the original agreement, the second phase was intended to see the start of negotiations over the release of the remaining 59 hostages, the full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, and a final end to the conflict. Hamas has rejected the idea of a temporary extension to the 42-day truce. A senior Hamas official has said that the remaining Israeli hostages would be released under the terms of the already agreed upon phased deal. And U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff plans to return to the region in coming days to work out a way to either extend the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal or advance to the second phase. According to the State Department spokesperson said on Monday, President Trump has made clear and Secretary Rubio has repeatedly said all the hostages must be released immediately, and that includes American hostages. And in her first public remarks since U.S. President Trump's second inauguration, United States First Lady Melania Trump led a high-profile roundtable on the Take It Down Act aimed at tackling the dangers of deepfakes and revenge porn. However, she didn't hold back, criticizing Democratic lawmakers for their low attendance at the Capitol discussion. Despite this, she praised bipartisan cooperation, highlighting Senators Ted Cruz and Amy Klobuchar's commitment to addressing this urgent issue.
To learn that Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar united to prioritize this fundamental matter. I must admit, however, I expected to see more Democrats, leaders with us here today, to address this serious issue. Surely, as adults, we can prioritize Americans' children ahead of partisan politics.
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court is to hear arguments in a $10 billion lawsuit filed by Mexico accusing American gun manufacturers of fueling drug trafficking and violence. Smith & Wesson and U.S. gun distributor Interstate Arms are seeking a dismissal of the Mexican government suit, which has been winding its way through U.S. courts since 2021. in its suit in Mexico, which is under mounting pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump to curb drug trafficking, accuses Smith & Wesson and other U.S. gun makers of engaging in a negligent and illicit trade that fuels drug cartel violence. And in southern Bolivia, at least 31 people died on Monday when their bus plunged into a ravine after colliding with a pickup truck, bringing to nearly 70 the number killed on area roads in recent days. The crash in southern Potosi department came 2 days after at least 37 people died when a bus heading to the Orero Carnival, one of the biggest festivals in Latin America, collided with another bus near the city of Uyuni. Investigators said they suspected the pickup driver of causing the collision by crossing lanes into oncoming traffic, ramming headlong with the bus, which plummeted down a gorge half a kilometer deep. 22 people were injured in the accident. Horrific smashes are all too frequent on Bolivia's narrow mountain roads. Road accidents kill an average of 1,400 people every year in the country of about 12 million inhabitants. Well, the United Nations Environment Programme announced a new round of negotiations towards a global plastics treaty, which will take place from August 5th to 14th in Geneva after countries failed to agree on the parameters of a final agreement last December in Busan, South Korea. The most divisive issues that prevented a final deal in Busan included capping plastic production, managing plastic products and chemicals of concern, and financing to help developing countries implement the treaty. More than 100 countries backed a treaty draft that would have created a path for a global plastic production reduction target, while a competing proposal backed by oil and petrochemical producing states omitted production caps. Achieving agreement could face more headwinds when countries reconvene in Switzerland under a geopolitical landscape that has been transformed by strained diplomacy. Well, Japan is fighting a forest fire that has damaged dozens of homes and forced hundreds of residents to evacuate in a northeastern coastal city. Japan is battling a biggest forest fire in 3 decades, which has caused authorities to issue an evacuation advisory for some 4,600 residents. One person died in the blaze in the northern region of Iwate, which follows record low rainfall in the area and last year's hottest summer on record across Japan as climate change pushes up temperatures worldwide. Well, more than 2,000 troops and firefighters have been deployed from across the country. And moving on, SpaceX called off its 8th Starship test flight from Texas over an unspecified issue on the rocket system's core ship, delaying for at least 24 hours the company's attempt to deploy mock Starlink satellites in space for the first time. The scrub was announced on the live stream after both Starship and Super Heavy rocket triggered multiple holes 40 seconds before launch. SpaceX will have another go on Wednesday. The mission will follow a suborbital trajectory similar to previous tests, but aims to achieve several new milestones. Key objectives include the deployment of 4 Starlink simulators, which will mimic the size of next-generation Starlink satellites, and conducting multiple re-entry experiments to enhance the upper stage's return and catch capabilities. Well, also, minutes before it was scheduled to launch, the first commercial mission of Europe's new heavy-lift rocket Ariane 6 was called off due to an anomaly on the ground. It was the latest of several postponements for the rocket as Europe seeks to secure independent access to space amid a shock rapprochement between Moscow and Washington. The launch was postponed as Europe seeks to reduce its reliance on the United States for security, and the European space industry struggles to remain competitive with Elon Musk's SpaceX. And moving on, Pope Francis suffered 2 episodes of acute respiratory insufficiency on Monday, the Vatican said. Francis, who has been in Rome's Gemelli Hospital since February 14th, is again receiving non-invasive mechanical ventilation to help with his breathing. According to the latest detailed medical update, Pope experienced 2 episodes of acute respiratory insufficiency caused by significant accumulation of endobronchial mucus. The Pope also suffered a bronchospasm akin to an asthma attack, which required doctors to perform 2 bronchoscopies or procedures to inspect his air passages.
The Vatican said Pope Francis had suffered 2 acute respiratory attacks on Monday. This is the latest health update about Pope Francis, who has been in hospital since February 14th, battling double pneumonia. This appears like a little setback for the Pope as he tries to get rid of this infection.
Well, voting started on Tuesday to pick a new Congress in remote Micronesia, a small Pacific nation reinforcing ties with the United States even as neighbors drift closer to China. The Federated States of Micronesia, a scattered republic of volcanic isles and coral atolls, has for decades been one of Washington's most steadfast Pacific allies. The nation of some 1 lakh residents voting to choose 10 members of Congress who serve 2-year terms, Micronesia's electoral office said. The president is chosen from among 4 more who serve 4-year terms and so do not face re-elections until 2027. Incumbent President Wesley Semina last year signed a 20-year economic and security deal that will see the United States pump $3.3 billion into Micronesia over the next 20 years. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Dressed in a delicate embroidered costume, her headdress adorned with glittering sequins, Hong Konger Rika Wu is one of a dwindling number of performers striving to keep Cantonese opera alive in Hong Kong. Wu's passion and commitment are inspiring a new generation of enthusiasts. With its origins dating back to the 13th century, Cantonese opera has long been an integral part of Hong Kong's cultural heritage. French designer Victor Viansanto unveils a completely frosty autumn-winter 2025-26 collection in a very wintry color palette, accompanied for the occasion by the singer and comedian Camille Lelouch. The Paris Fashion Week is further expected to be a game-changer in the luxury fashion industry. The world's largest wireless technology showcase kicks off in Barcelona with excitement over AI's potential to transform gadgets, while the industry has concerns over trade tensions since the start of Donald Trump's second U.S. presidency. Global telecommunications sector believes people will try to forget about this tariff issue during the conference. Shops and markets in central Tehran, usually teeming with customers ahead of the Persian New Year, now barely see any buyers, a somber reflection of the dire state of the Iranian economy. This year, many Iranians are struggling to make ends meet due to soaring inflation, high unemployment, and a severe economic downturn. The situation remains bleak, and many Iranians are bracing themselves for a difficult year ahead. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar embarks on 6-day official visit to UK and Ireland to strengthen bilateral relations. Belgium's Princess Astrid leads a major delegation on official visit to India, strengthening bilateral ties. Indian Navy's squadron engages in maritime cooperation with Royal Thai Navy during port call at Phuket.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Trouble brews as U.S. President Donald Trump says there is no room for Canada and Mexico to avoid tariffs, doubles China levies to 20%, Canada to impose counter tariffs. Donald Trump keeps the window of hope ajar as he signals Ukraine minerals deal possible, set to reveal details of rare earths deal on Tuesday. A day after Europe announces ironclad support to Ukraine, U.S. President Trump halts all U.S. military aid to Ukraine, says U.S. review to ensure aid contributing to a solution. Extraordinary Arab League summit on a plan to counter U.S. proposal to take over Gaza and move its residents today. Arab foreign ministers talk out plan in Monday meet. And in sports, India to face Australia in a high-voltage showdown in the first semi-final of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. And India's President Draupadi Murmu to deliver the concluding address at the ongoing two-day visitors' conference in the national capital. In her inaugural address on Monday, President said that the level of development of any country is reflected in the quality of its education system. The President said that educational institutions shape the future of the nation. She also expressed confidence that with the global thinking, the heads of higher learning institutions would prepare our generations of builders of a developed India. During the inaugural session, the President presented the 8th Visitors Awards in the categories of innovation, research and technology development. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in 3 post-budget webinars on Tuesday. These webinars are being held on Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises as an engine of growth, manufacturing, export and nuclear energy missions, regulatory investment and ease of doing business reforms. He will also address the gathering on the occasion. The webinars will provide a collaborative platform for government officials, industry leaders and trade experts to deliberate on India's industrial, trade and energy strategies. The discussions will focus on policy execution, investment facilitation and technology adoption, ensuring seamless implementation of the budget's transformative measures. The webinars will engage private sector experts, industry representatives and subject matter specialists to align efforts and drive impactful implementation of budget announcements. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will begin his 6-day official visit to the United Kingdom and Ireland from today. India and the UK share a comprehensive strategic partnership which has strengthened across diverse areas including defence and security, trade and economy, health, education, people-to-people ties. During the visit, EAM will be holding discussions with his counterpart, Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and will meet several other dignitaries as well as Indian community members. Thereafter, on March 6th and 7th, the External Affairs Minister will visit Ireland. The two countries share friendly bilateral relations based on shared democratic values, cultural ties and growing economic engagements. EAM will be meeting with his Irish counterpart, Simon Harris, other dignitaries and members of the Indian community. EAM's visit will provide renewed impetus to India's friendly ties with both UK and Ireland. And Belgium King Philip's sister, Princess Astrid, is on a 7-day official visit to India, leading a delegation of 335 members and 180 companies. Later today, Princess Astrid is scheduled to meet India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On Monday, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met Princess Astrid and his counterpart Theo Franken in New Delhi. The leaders discussed issues related to the regional security and the possibility of defence engagement in the Indo-Pacific. Well, India's External Affairs Minister also met Princess Astrid of Belgium. EM expressed confidence that Princess Astrid's visit will foster greater collaborations for a stronger ties Belgium and India-EU partnership. Earlier, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met Belgium's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Maxime Prévost at Hyderabad House in New Delhi, highlighting strong ties. Jaishankar emphasized the potential for a more contemporary partnership focusing on semiconductors, AI, clean energy, research and innovation.
Relations, of course, have always been good. Belgium was one of the first European countries to establish an embassy in independent India. Today has the possibility of growing in a more contemporary format. We are discussing, semiconductors and AI and clean energy and research and innovation.
Well, as part of the ongoing training deployment of the first training squadron to Southeast Asia, INS Shardul, INS Sujata and ICGS Veera deployed at Phuket Deep Sea Port in Thailand. During the port call, the Indian Navy and the Royal Thai Navy will engage in a series of dynamic activities aimed at strengthening maritime cooperation and enhancing operational synergy. The Indian Navy and Royal Thai Navy have maintained a close and friendly relationship which has strengthened over the years. The visit reinforces better understanding and enhanced interoperability between the two navies. Earlier, the two training squadrons of the Indian Navy arrived in Cam Ranh Bay in Vietnam on February 20th. Well, the Indian Meteorological Department has issued a weather forecast highlighting the impact of western disturbance over the western Himalayan region, bringing widespread rainfall and snowfall to several areas in the coming days. Under its influence, isolated to scattered light to moderate rainfall and snowfall are expected over Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh and parts of Uttarakhand. Well, Himachal Pradesh is also expected to receive isolated to scattered light to moderate rainfall and snowfall. The recent snowfall in Himachal Pradesh attracted a large influx of tourists to Shimla and other hill stations. However, disruptions caused by landslides and flash floods in the past few days have led to the closure of several roads across the state. Authorities are engaged in efforts to restore connectivity. Well, elephant processions are an integral part of religious festivals in India, but a series of elephant attacks have once again raised questions on animal cruelty and public safety. After the recent incidents, PETA India has come up with an unconventional solution, that is robotic elephants. DD India's Yash Chaturvedi reports for more.
Many festivals and religious rituals in the southern Indian states are incomplete without elephants. But the celebrations have often turned into a tale of disaster as the animal went berserk, resulting in tragic consequences. In the last 1 month alone, elephant attacks have claimed 5 lives and injured several others in Kerala. The latest incidents have reignited the debate on the ways to keep the festivities safe without diluting the sentiments. The answer to a complex religious riddle have been delivered by science, a robo-elephant. Made of fiberglass, rubber and iron frames, the mechanical elephant can move their ears and tails. Some models can even carry up to 4 people during processions. Animal rights activists argue that these robots align with religious traditions. Last year, one temple in Kerala introduced Raman, a robotic elephant. India is home to nearly 60% of the Asian elephant population, a species classified as endangered. With shrinking forests, human-elephant conflicts are rising. Official data shows 629 people were killed by elephants across India in 23-24, while 121 elephants died due to human-related causes. The project is still at developmental stage with many temples. Temple authorities and devotees are yet to form up plans to give up animals permanently and adopt the move to mechanical elephants. But the makers of another novel offer for those keen on an elephant at their weddings, models can be rented without the cumbersome permits required for a costly real one. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now let's take a look at the stories making news today. A grand Holi celebration was held at Raman Retiri Ashram in Mathura. Vibrant colours were smeared on faces and people danced to the beats of traditional music. The air was filled with laughter and the streets echoed with chants of Holi Hai and Radhe Radhe as everyone came together to celebrate the arrival of spring and the victory of good over evil. Himachal Pradesh CM launches Bankhandi Zoological Park project in Dehra constituency. The project aims to enhance wildlife conservation and promote ecotourism in the region. With a focus on preserving biodiversity, the park will house various species of flora and fauna, offering educational and recreational opportunities for visitors, attracting tourists and creating job opportunities. A new institute for civil services coaching has opened in Rajouri, offering aspiring candidates in the region an opportunity to prepare for prestigious exams like the UPSC. The initiative aims to provide high-quality education and guidance to students who wish to pursue a career in civil services and helping bridge the educational gap for aspirants in Jammu and Kashmir. And still to come on DD India News Hour. TSMC announces $100 billion investment in US chip manufacturing, expanding to create thousands of jobs. And Rio Carnival comes alive with samba, color and culture as revelers dazzle.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. On to some business news now. Taiwanese chip-making giant TSMC on Monday said it will invest at least $100 billion in the United States to build cutting-edge manufacturing facilities. The TSMC CEO joined U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday to announce the Taiwanese company's new investment in production in the United States. He said the new investment brings TSMC's total investment in chip manufacturing in the U.S. to $165 billion. The expansion includes plans for 3 new chips fabrication plants, 2 advanced packaging facilities, and a major R&D center. Trump called the TSMC CEO a legend and said the investment will create many thousands of jobs.
The most powerful AI chips in the world will be made right here in America. And it'll be a big percentage of the chips made by his company. But as you know, they're based mostly in Taiwan. And they're far and away the biggest. There's nobody even close. This $100 billion in new investment will go into building 5 cutting-edge fabrication facilities in the great state that we just discussed, Arizona, and will create thousands of jobs, many thousands of jobs and they're high-paying jobs.
Well, TSMC is the largest contract chip maker in the world and it first set up shop in Arizona in 2020 with production there beginning late last year. Well, India, as a global flag bearer of inclusive growth with effective government policies, says a latest study by economists Surjit Bhalla and Karan Bhasin. Among the startling data sets it has brought forth, it says extreme poverty in India, which stood at 12.2% in 2011-2012, has come down drastically just 1% by 2023 to 24. Take a look.
India's growth story is a testament to the effectiveness of its government's policies, which have significantly reduced economic inequality and eliminated extreme poverty in the country. Former Executive Director of the IMF for India, Surjit S. Bhalla, along with economist Karan Bhasin, has made a groundbreaking revelation in their new study. In their paper titled 4 Facts on Inclusive Growth in India, published this month, they highlight remarkable progress drawing on data from the National Statistical Office's Household Consumption Expenditure Survey for 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024. According to their key findings, the poorest segments of the society have benefited the most, with a noticeable increase in the consumption of food, essential goods, and durable items. As a result, extreme poverty, measured using the World Bank's $1.9 purchasing power parity or the PPP poverty line, which stood at 12.2% in 2011-2012 but has drastically reduced to just 1% by 2023 to 2024. Even at $3.65 PPP, which is more suitable for lower middle income economies, poverty has sharply declined from 52.8% in 2011 to 2012 to just 15.6% in 2023 to 2024. This transformation is largely driven by a significant increase in domestic per capita monthly consumption expenditure.
In terms of policies, I think the big story is employment growth. Between 2004 and 2011, employment growth in India was only about 1 million a year. Since 2014-15, employment growth has been upwards of 10 million a year. So that has clearly helped in terms of poverty alleviation.
The study further highlights a historic reduction in consumption inequality, which has dropped from 37.5 in 2011 to 2012 to 29.1 in 2023 to 2024. This marks the most rapid decline in inequality ever recorded in 6 decades of consumption survey data. Economists now argue that the official poverty lines established under the Tendulkar and Rangarajan frameworks decades ago are no longer relevant. With extreme poverty nearly eradicated, a fresh approach is needed to better reflect today's economic realities. As India aims to become a developed country by 2047, this report showcasing the country's inclusive development provides a hopeful outlook for a brighter, more prosperous future. Bureau Report, DD, India.
Well, you're watching TTNT News. Our time now for some sports news. India and Australia will face in a high-voltage showdown in the first semi-final of the ICC Champions Trophy at the Dubai International Stadium on Tuesday. The men in blue will be bidding for their 3rd title after emerging victorious in the 2002 and 2013 editions of the tournament. This will be India's 6th Champions Trophy semi-final appearance, and it will be featuring in a last-4 match for the 3rd consecutive time in the competition's history. Well, Indian cricket team captain Rohit Sharma is confident ahead of his team's semi-final clash against Australia, emphasising process over revenge despite their previous defeat to the same opposition in the 2023 World Cup final.
It's a great opposition to play against. All we had to do is what we've been thinking about last 3 games, and we have to approach that game in a similar fashion. We understand the opposition and how they play and stuff like that, but I think the more and more we focus on what we need to do as a group, as a player, as a batting unit, as a bowling unit, that helps us a lot. I said it, yes, but look, Australia have been such a great team over the years, so we will expect some fight backs, we will expect some nervy times as well in the middle, but that is how the game is being played these days.
And for more on the match, we have Narayan Singh joining us from Delhi. Well, Narayan, India and Australia meet in another ICC knockout clash today. Will India pass the Australian test? And with Australia's key bowlers missing, and finally, will we be able to break the knockout jinx against Australia in a major ICC event?
Good morning, Lipakshi. As you mentioned, that will India be able to break that Australian jinx? Definitely, the way the Indian team has played in this tournament, right from the first match we saw in the group stages, they played fantastic cricket. And taking a look at the whole Indian team, it is looking quite balanced. And the kind of players they have, definitely they have an upper hand against this Australian team. And when we go in the past, when we see the knockout stages about the 2023 World Cup where India lost to Australia in the final, it was a different context. Talking about it was a final and this is a semi-final, and there's a big difference between semi-final and final. When a team is playing in the semi-final, there is a trophy in front of them, and it brings the pressure. And talking about the Indian team, they have, we can say, the expectation of more than 1 billion people when we talk about the cricket. And cricket, we know that what kind of following cricket has in India. So in that context, there was the pressure, but this time around, India is continuously playing in Dubai and they know the conditions very well. So it is an advantage India. And apart from that, the condition here in Dubai, it's better for the spinners. And talking about the Indian team, they have 4 world-class quality spinners, but Australia don't have this facility. They have only the Australian team only have Adam Zampa. So there is a difference between 10 quality overs of the Adam Zampa and the 40 quality overs of the 4 Indian spinners. But it remains to be seen. There will be 3 spinners or 4 spinners for the Indian team in this match, because I think the pitch in this match going to be used will be different from the pitch that was used in the match against New Zealand. So as the reports are coming, the reports are saying that the pitch that was used against the Pakistan match, that will be used here. But all in all, India is a better side, better equipped side, and all the players at the form. And the previous match we saw down the order, Hardik Pandya also played a cameo of the 45 runs per ball. So all things are in India's favor, and Captain Rohit Sharma is also getting fantastic starts. And he was not able to convert those starts into a big one, but giving a good start to the India in this, we can say that the Champions Trophy was a task of the Rohit Sharma, and he has done this. Virat Kohli is also in the form. All in all, India is looking a balanced team, and we are hoping that they will continue this momentum in this semi-final match against Australia. As you mentioned, they have a depleted bowling layer. Australian team, they don't have their frontline fast bowler. So the conditions are in favor of India, but we know that Australia as a team, they have always put their game notch higher in the knockout stages.
All right. Also, Narayan, Australia has been resilient even without their frontline players. But given India's undefeated run in Dubai and their mastery over spin, high-octane match expected today.
Definitely, Australia, as a team, even if they don't have their frontline players, frontline bowlers, definitely they are always a threat. If you take a look, their match between England, England put a total of more than 350, but they chased down it. So we can say that this Australian team always a threat to any team. But in the present scenario, the kind of cricket Indian team has played, definitely they have an upper hand. As we already mentioned that the pitch this pitch, Dubai pitch, is among the slowest and sluggish pitch among the 4 venues in the ICC Champions Trophy. If you take a look, the pitches in the Rawalpindi, Karachi and Lahore, they are the flat belters, and the scores of over 300 are a usual thing there. But here, scoring 250 or 260, definitely it's the winning total here. In the previous match, India's last group match against New Zealand, we saw that India scored 249 runs, and at one point in time it was looking that will India be able to defend that target. But we know the surface, as the match progresses, as the match goes ahead, it becomes difficult for the batsman to bat, because it gets slower with the time.
All right, Narayan, thank you so much for all those details, and hoping India the best today. And moving on, International Olympic Committee's top post contender Sebastian Coe feels that India has strong case to host 2036 Olympics. Although he stated that the competition would be tough with several other countries throwing their hats in the ring. Poland, Indonesia, South Africa, Qatar, Hungary, Turkey, Mexico and Egypt are among other countries which have expressed a desire to host the 2036 Olympics. India has already submitted the letter of intent to host 2036 Summer Olympics and Paralympic Games to the IOC's Future Host Commission. And revelers of a samba school perform on the second night of Carnival in Rio de Janeiro. The streets were filled with the rhythmic beats of samba as dancers swirled and leaped to the infectious rhythms that define Brazil's most famous festival. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DT India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DT India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DT India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DT India News Hour.